All right, here we are. We're going to talk about the first two episodes of Wheel of Time. It is I, the Taviran centrist, aka all those other things I usually say. And then we have Tristram here. Andrew may be showing up later. He may not. We'll see. It's a roll of the dice. I guess those dice are rolling in my head right now. We'll see if they actually come out of the cup. So we'll just go ahead and talk a little bit of about a few scenes. I know for sure we're going to have to talk about the opening scene of the first episode, which is something I know that you have some qualms with, and it's basically it's a long scene. A lot of it is silent without dialogue. Well, not silent, but
Mm.
lacks dialogue. But it's Moraine kind of going about an ordinary life without her powers. Um, and
Mm.
we it it's like we get into maybe 10 minutes before a word is spoken. Um, but we do have an issue that I know that you have about this is just kind of the way the um the relationship between Lan and Moraine is portrayed here. And I also
Yeah.
did have some issues too. It felt a bit petty. It's like these people have been together for 20
Yeah.
years, and it seems
Yeah.
unlike Moraine. Like, um, it almost feels like they're trying to accelerate her plotline to book five, where she's planning on releasing Lan to another Aes Sedai because she knows
Yeah.
she's going to get severed. But,
But
in
but
this one,
mm,
you the pettiness was kind of odd to me,
I
it just
hated
didn't
it.
make any sense.
Like, yeah, one of the things I think, Dusty, is like people say, this is a TV show, it's a different medium. Okay, I'm with you there. So if you want to bring some plot from book 5 into season 2, like, okay, knock yourself out. But the problem is that when she is expecting to die in the other one. Like she thinks she will be literally gone. So when she expects that death to occur, she plans because she doesn't want Lan to die. And one of the things that typically happens is when you lose your Aes Sedai, Warder can't bear it and will go and either will seek death. And the thing is, they spent an entire non-canonical episode in season
Right.
1 saying, look how awful it is if a warder loses their Aes Sedai. They basically lose all will to live. It's terrible for the Aes Sedai to be stilled, and I think they did that okay. Like on the whole, like Moraine is like the little like the gratuitous. Hey, let's have a woman naked in the bath. They love that stuff, but it had a point because in the first season we saw her in the baths, and then she heats the water with her hand. This time she's got to drag the water herself, menial labor. She tries to heat the bath and she can't, and she just weeps. And I actually know a couple of people who really resonated with that. Said, this idea of when I'm finally in the bath on my own, no one can see me. I can be vulnerable. I can open up and cry and allow myself to feel the true depth of my horror. And I'm okay with that. Like the stilling should feel awful. I'm even okay, despite I think it went on a bit too long, with the long periods of silence. It reminded me of Ahsoka. Huge periods of silence. Please find this interesting. But the thing is, they're trying to show like it's almost like as close as Moraine is ever going to get to depression. And that's exactly what a stilling should be like. It should be like, I need to do something to keep me alive. And she's thrown herself into her blue work, which is very reminiscent of what happens with Swan in the books and Leanne when they lose theirs. Like Swan throws herself into being an eyes and ears master and is very reluctant to give that up. I think we see that with Moraine. She's throwing herself into her mission to fill the void left by the lack of the source. But if she really does have lack of the source, she should be throwing herself into her relationship with Lan, leaning on him as the only other person who's sharing this break with her. And that would just be in character. Or she should say, the bond is severed. To save you, you need to go and be bonded to another Aes Sedai. But she doesn't. And like the thing is, in the book 5 thing that we're referencing, she totally tells him that's what she's done. he's angry with her about it because she does it without his permission. But like she brings him in on it. She's like, this is what I'm going to do because I'm not letting you go off to the Blight to die. And I know if I just released you, you would. And it's so frustrating that instead they seem to be like a typical couple portrayed in a TV show who are like going through a divorce or something.
Right.
They're doing little power plays, pettiness, and losing their grip. And like, I don't know why, but the show seems to have decided that Lan needs to be emotional. Like, in order for us to resonate with him, they think if he's fully Lan, basically a man who makes stones look soft, which is how he's frequently described, then we will think, oh, we can't connect to this guy. We hate him because he doesn't have visible emotions. That's rubbish. Everyone who reads the books connects to Lan. Everyone who reads the books loves Lan. I've never met anyone who's like, I hate Lan. You know which character I hate? Lan. No one says that. There's people who have a problem with the girl characters, people who think the boys are petty. No one hates Lan. Everyone loves Lan. And it's because, and we get very few POVs from Lan. So it's not like we see inside his head. We can understand because for Lan, a grunt is a chapter. For Lan to show that he is disturbed by something, just even slightly, means he's devastated, right? But in this show, it doesn't, because he's barking out shouting matches with Moiraine. He's being petty, like, get your own dinner. Oh, come on! And this isn't the man who makes mountains look weak. And it's a shame, because I think the actor's fine. And he's clearly been told to do this, and he's doing it to the level that they want. But I find it gutting because I think it's damaging to both their characters, and I think it completely misunderstands the nature of the bond. And they even have the Aes Sedai say to him, it's not about you, Land. It's not about you. Shut up. You're Aes freaking die. You know what the water bond is. You know if the source is cut off, what warders do. And you've even established, Rafe, from your first season, that happens and that warders kill themselves when the bond is lost. So what is Adler's going on with, like, it's not to do with it? That is totally a thing of, like, see blokes when they won't let women grieve and they try and sort everything. Shut up. That's got nothing to do with the bond. He is devastated, wanting to die, and the woman who he's staying alive for is treating him like a doorpost. Of course, it has everything to do with him. And then saying, you need to be quiet and listen to her. Oh my goodness. You like get an imagination and like think of a different kind of issue here. It just doesn't make character sense. So yeah, hated that. It's my least favorite part of the entire series so far. It's their relationship. It's rubbish. It's rubbish.
Yeah, I think they just kind of wrote themselves in the hole. Like, if it would have just been better if it was just a strong block, and she has no access to it, but she could sense it.
But it's not playing a role, is it? Like,
right.
The fact that she doesn't touch power isn't doing anything. Like when Robert.
Well, that's why I'm like super confused, because it shows her trying to like touch the power. It's like, okay, is she stilled or is she blocked? Like, what are they doing here? Like, it's really confusing. Like, I don't really know what they're trying to do as far as her thing goes.
I think she has to be stilled if the water bond is broken. If it isn't broken and she is blocked, we should see, because they showed us in series 1 that if they're showing a shield, they show it happen.
Oh, like a physical shield.
They have in both season 1 and when Liandrin shields Nynaeve, they show it again.
Right.
Now they could argue, oh, but we're doing it with Weaves of saidin. So yeah, but that makes no sense, because you've never done the thing where you show us saidin and not saidar. You've either shown us or you've not shown us. And so the problem is they've broken the lore of the books, but they've also broken the show lore. If they don't do that, so she must be stilled, unless they decide to pull one out of their ass. Which, whatever. I don't know how they're going to resolve it. I think they've painted themselves into a corner. But the key point that frustrates me is, for no reason. for no reason.
Right.
Why didn't they just have her deathly wounded? And then they can have their conflict. If they want them to have a conflict, they can have their conflict that he's saying you should be going back to the tower and keeping yourself safe. And she's going, no, the Dragon Reborn and finding out the truth of the prophecy is more serious. And she could even say, I'm not going to tell you all the truth about this because I think you're not going to be, I can't trust it with you. And that could be their conflict. I'd buy it, especially if it wasn't super petty and emotional. But why? Why create this thing? I think it's because they want us all to gasp and go, well, that was an unexpected twist, stilling Moiraine at the end of book 1. And they'd had their unexpected twist, and now they can't follow it up. They got nothing good. And so that, don't worry, those of you who are listening, that isn't my opinion of the entire series. That is my opinion of that relationship in season 2. I think it's terrible, and I think it's damaged the opportunity for 2 of the best actors in the show to do their stuff.
All right. So moving along, we get some character introductions. We get Adeleas and Varen, who appears to be taking over Van Dien's role.
Looks
like
they've just combined them.
Rolled into one character. I'm glad it's Varen that's sticking around, of course, rather than Van Dien. Because Varen is very key to me.
Yeah, Varen's a massively important character. And like the actress is fun. She's good. She looks older, even though she's obviously ageless. So, like, it makes sense that she's still got a lot of vivacity. But I only really have one problem. Like, Varen's had some great lines as well. Like she's been strong, but she's talked about study when they've talked about going to the tower. She's like, you need me to go to the tower and do some research. Her relationship with Thomas, I love. I think Thomas is really well cast. The only niggle I have, and it's a pretty big one for me, but it's absolutely nothing for the show, is that Varen doesn't act like Varen. I wish she did. I wish they, like, I guess they don't want anyone to look, or at least they don't want any of their characters to look doddering. But one of the awesome things about Varen, especially in the early books, is that she is like the Brown, isn't she? She's the Brown. She's a bit very absent-minded, obsessed with like, that's a very interesting little curiosity, a bit of book lore. And it's as if she doesn't know what's going on. And then she puts out these little comments that make you think, oh, hang on a minute. Is Varen really all ditzy? And like that comment she makes to Moiraine about, well, I'm not going to make that oath, but even if I did, you can find your way around them. Like, that would have been a cool line for her to put in, especially if she had been acting the whole time as if she wasn't really involved. Like, if her sister had been saying everything, but Varen pretty much hadn't said anything because she was nosing a book the entire time, and then suddenly came out with a little bomb like that, or a piece of advice to Lan, and go, ooh, this one who looks like she's not got anything going on is actually more interesting. Whereas anyone watching the show is like, well, I know which one of these 2 women is important. Yeah,
right.
It's obviously her.
She gets more dialogue.
Loads more dialogue, but also looks fully involved. Looks like she's the one running things. It's my house. I let you live here. This is what you should do with your warder. You should go to the White Tower and do this. Oh, so this is just a full-on Aes Sedai, like Swan, right? Who manipulates things. What a shame to miss out on the incredibly clever and really well-crafted character Robert Jordan made. But I'm not mad. Like, she's still good. She's still Brown, thank goodness. She's still got very nice traits. But her characterization, it's just, I think they just missed an open goal. Like, I bet if as an actress she'd be like, "Ooh, I'd love to play that." Some doddering old woman who isn't really doddering would be like brilliant. Like the old lady from Highgarden in the
oh yeah.
Like, everyone's like, you're this old tiny woman. What can you do? And actually, she's incredibly dangerous and knows freaking well what she's doing, and better than almost anyone else. And you think, oh.
Yeah, she is. Did you watch the show?
I did not, but I've read the book.
She's one of my favorite characters in the show. She does the most amazing job acting in the show.
I heard that the actress was a disappointment to nobody. Like, everyone, right. Like in the vibe that you see online. But anyway, so that's my only niggle with Varen, is that she doesn't act very absent-minded Verony. But apart from that, like, I think the look of the actress is fine. I think the slightly Asian coloring actually works for Varen very well. Yeah.
All right.
Did you like
Uh,
Varen? Did you like Varen?
I thought Varen was okay. Like I
Yeah.
didn't have any problems. I
Mhm.
just felt that she was too like charismatic.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. She's not very doddering and backgroundy. She's clearly a main character.
Right.
And so I think that's a bit of a mistake because the coolness of Varen is like, as you read more, you're like, oh, I think Varen might be important. Oh, I think Varen might be really important. Because you remember, for those of us who read the books, Robert Jordan introduced 30, 40, 50, 60 named Aes Sedai. So just because someone had a name didn't mean they were important. And in the first few books, Varen's just tinkering around. It isn't clear that she's going to be a multiple recurring character until she is. And then you're like, oh, it's not really till the Two Rivers that you think, oh, Varen is like one of the key Aes Sedai. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's
And then
another
more and
problem
more,
with the format. It's they can't have most of the characters that they introduce are
have to be
mainly
important.
yeah. So anybody that is shown, I don't think maybe Adelius might show up at later.
I think Adelaus will do the dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's just the problem with the format. You know, they
Yeah.
kind of anybody that shows up
Yeah.
is going to be a prominent character.
And the actress is good, right? Like, the actress is good, and she gets some great lines. I think are really good Verony lines. Like I say, like you would say, it's just so super charismatic. What a big problem to have with someone. You're a bit too charismatic, dang it. But no, so Varen is a niggle. It's not a problem.
Right. We do have another new character from the books. We have
Yeah.
Bail Domon.
Yep, love Bale. Well cast. And considering they missed him out of series 1, so he doesn't do the boat trip, good way to bring him in. We know that Kurendar is something that he comes across. It is something that he has. And now, because he's on the run, it makes a good excuse for him to end up at Toman Head, to be there and to meet Yeaghan and have those kind of experiences. So I love the fact Bail Domon's in it. I think he's well acted. I like it. I like the look. I like the fact that he wasn't a pushover, but he was outsmartable by Moiraine. Makes complete sense. I liked all of that. And he got to do things like talk about Kurendar, talk about the Athenmere, which are nice little plot drops for the future. It's one of the only things that I liked about Moiraine's performance in this series so far is where she's like, Aes Sedai are clever. Like, and I think, I don't know, but I think Moiraine may have made use of the fact that she can lie now.
Yeah, we saw that. So I
Yeah.
guess she has to be stilled then if she can lie.
Well, do you think that the showrunners are paying careful attention to that? Because that's not my current feeling. Like Liandrin, I think,
Definitely lied.
or it seems like she did.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that could be because of other things that why she can lie. But it also might be they might argue that she's just stretching the truth lots and lots and lots and lots with special mind games, like saying not a mention of Mat. Well, maybe she means not a mention that I read in this note. See, because I stopped before we got to that bit. But if they're going there, that's absolutely. I think the Oath Rod would have stopped her. But yeah, point is, I don't think they're being very careful about the oaths, like, at all. Like, we've seen people use the power already almost like a weapon. And when Egwene like blew up the flame there to like threaten Liandrin, I don't think the power would have let her do that. And not only, well, no, actually, she hasn't taken the oaths, but it's her noviceness that should have stopped her. But that's why the Aes Sedai would have crucified a novice who used the power as a threat against a sister. Anyway, that's for another time. I think we've missed something, though, that I don't think we should skip over. The cold open.
Oh, yeah. We can talk about the cold open.
Dark Friend Conference.
Oh yeah, I can't believe we forgot about that. So the Dark Friend Social makes an appearance in the cold open of the episode. Completely forgot about that, but I was happy that they did actually portrayed some semblance of a Dark Friend Social.
Yeah, me too.
Um, it wasn't like, of course, not as in depth as the book where we're following around a
Yeah,
particular character.
yeah, and
But that
they
doesn't
don't give a
matter
ton.
that much. That doesn't
Nah,
matter that much. I thought what they did with it was pretty interesting. Like they
yeah,
made
the little girl thing just annoyed me though. It really
I
did.
and I the that part just didn't really make a lot of sense to me, to be honest.
No, it
Um
doesn't. I think they're like, this is how we, because like everyone knows that like evil mustache twirling villains are like mocked now. So it's like, right, we have to have a gray villain. So we have to make Ishmael gray. How do we do that? Well, what we'll do is we'll show that he kind of thinks that monsters aren't monsters, and everyone's included, including Trollocs. No, no, just no. That like he's gray in a different way. He's gray
yeah.
because he's nihilistic. He's not gray because he picks up little girls and says, look, Trollocs are just like you and me. As long as you're like with me, everyone loves you. And this is just my pet Rockweiler. No, they're not. They're man-eating abominations, just to be clear. That's what they are. And but also like, what's with Fane unveiling his face in the middle of the social to pull a face at the kid? Like, come on, come on. And like, what's up to her going, hey mom, like under the table, like just like it removed, like they're trying to add threat to the Dark Friends, which it could have done, and instead they kind of had these two things in juxtaposition that just didn't work. Like, I loved the Dark Friend Social. I'm like, yes, this is from the books. This is great. Loved that they showed the Aes Sedai ring, that they showed the Shanarian markings. Like, yeah, Dark Friends could be anyone from anywhere. That's awesome. Do that. And even have the girl in if you want, but have her sitting terrified and quiet on the table as if no one knows she's there. Then they all get up and leave, and she like goes out and then can't flee because of the Trollocs. And we just then cut out and like, is that little girl going to get eaten? And we're just never told. That is way more tense, and it doesn't devalue the Dark Friend meeting as in like, oh, they just chit chat with little kids who crash their super secret meetings, and they're like, "Oh, I'm your uncle. I'm a little bit of a rogue." So I didn't like that, but I love the actual Dark Friend meeting being in, and I love that they established that Dark Friends can be anyone. I think that's great.
Yeah, one odd thing though is that they were in Tel Aranriod and there were Trollocs there.
Oh, I don't think it's meant to be in Teleron
No, it
Riode.
is. Like if you go to the X-ray, because
It's meant to be in the world of. It's meant to be in the world of dreams.
yes, because the X-ray is there. So I paused it and it has this, and every X-ray has the setting of where the scene is, and it is in Tel Aranriod.
How can they be so wrong about everything? Like, how's the little girl getting in there?
No clue.
No. Like, how is she dreaming herself into the exact place where they're holding the Dark Friend conference and then staying in when she gets the shock long enough to talk to her mom, who she recognizes in Telar? No. No, 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 no. Like, I know it's got fluffy rules, the dream world, but come on, it has some. I just want to slap people when they do this. I'm going to pretend that it isn't in Teleron Riode because
You're gonna pretend. You have to remember there's like a Sean Chan person there, and
yeah,
then
but the
like a
Sean Chan have
Shannon.
landed. The Sean Chan have landed.
I know, but that type of meeting would be so difficult logistically.
Well,
Like
it
if it
would have been.
wasn't until I ran Rio.
Well, it isn't. It isn't in Teleron Riode in the books.
Yeah, I thought it was.
No, they all walk to it, don't they?
No, it is till I ran
Oh,
Rio in the book.
they do it in their sleep,
The Dark Friend, yeah, the Dark Friend socials until I ran Rio.
and they're all pulled in. All right. Well, all right then. But they make. All right, that's my bad mistake. Well, thank you for reminding me. But then the girl thing and the Trollocs are just unforgivable.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, the
Just not
scene
have
is
them.
messy. I like that they included, but
Yeah, I like that they included it.
there's a lot of unnecessary stuff in that scene.
Agreed. Just drop the girl, drop the Trollocs. There we go.
So yeah, moving on, we got the
Please.
tower.
Now, the tower looks beautiful. Tower looks great. I've been waiting to see them in the tower and learning about the power, like always. Love that. Love all about that. Love them in novice white. I wish that Rafe had been able to embrace what novices are about. Like that, yeah, it's about the fact that you're going to be the most powerful women in the world, the most powerful people in the world. So you have to start off being like everyone's beck and call as nobodies. And instead, they all act like punks, a bit too good to be novices. They refuse orders. They're cheeky to Aes Sedai. They don't use honorifics. And on the whole, just completely get away with it. I think Sheringham mentions like giving someone a beating once. And even that seems to have shocked some of our listeners. And I'm like, this is meant to be based on like Robert Jordan got these ideas from like the way that nuns had to live. You know, that's where it all comes from. And the harshness was meant to teach. And like, you don't need to agree with it or pretend that like their behavior is the right way to go. But like, why not let it happen? Why not like portray it? It's a fantasy world. Like this is what they think works. And then you can suggest it doesn't work, does it? And like when Egwene is in charge, they'll do something different, but they don't. They just have them act as if they're college students who can kind of be like, yeah, these teachers are rubbish. And
College
can
students
choose who they listen to.
Like they are
With
kind of like
magic
nuns,
powers.
like the Aes
They're
Sedai,
supposed to
but they're
be.
not. Yeah, they're not like, perfectly in line like they are in the novice tower in the books, where any little
Yeah.
infraction can get them like some type of extra punishment.
Yeah.
It's not as
And
bad as being a wise one in training, but it is
But I
pretty
bet they water
difficult.
that down too, because they won't want to show the wise ones as too savage either. And so they're gonna, well, I now feel that they're gonna squelch that as well. And if they thought that it would be against Nynaeve's character to make her act like a novice, they should have just made her accept it immediately, like Robert Jordan did. Anyway, but I've actually got more of a problem with Egwene than Nynaeve. And specifically
Okay.
Egwene in the later episodes, because Egwene shows some proper stuff. But like, what about this? They have one lesson that they show. One.
Right.
And I'm glad they show it. And they talk about different weaves, brilliant. And like the visuals of it are fine. And it's even like quite clever because the novices do menial tasks. So they're showing how the weave, they're teaching a weave using a menial issue to demonstrate its skill, but it's harmless. Perfect for novices to get a grip. And so Nynaeve can't channel. They know that. And then instead of like, but she doesn't even try to channel. She just sits there and gets angry. And then being angry doesn't allow her to channel. But Egwene does something really weird. She refuses to use her hand movements. Even though at this point, like everyone's saying that's what you do. And I get that Egwene later will be so good that she'll realize a lot of the culture and lore and made up traditions of the Aes Sedai are unnecessary. But she's doing that in her first month of arriving as a novice. It just looks like a punk move. It's like that kid who comes in and you're trying to teach them long division, like, oh no, I've got a better way. And you're like, I bet you do. Like, just flipping, listen to me for a second. And then after that, you can do whatever you're going to do. Sorry, it's my daughter. And so that's just annoyed me. I'm going to try and do it without moving my hands, and I can't. And like Egwene was just so different, and I found it frustrating. Anyway, but at least they said Nynaeve's the one who doesn't try but seems to be succeeding, according to Egwene. Egwene's trying loads and isn't succeeding as much. I think some people, it has been mentioned that Egwene's like one of the most powerful people there. And Nynaeve's just so much more so. I'm okay with a bit of jealousy. I'm okay with a bit of bickering. I think that's very much in character. I love the set. What is it with like Nynaeve like trying to punk around like a warder?
Oh yeah, she goes and she practices with the warders.
Like, and like it's Nynaeve, so yeah, like yeah, maybe. But like, come on, an Aes Sedai is like gonna
Well,
stab you with a knife.
I get it, because they kinda did establish in the first season that she
Can
feels
look after herself.
more at home talking and palling around with the warders.
Yeah,
Um, she seems more connected to them than the Aes Sedai. At least
yeah,
going by what we've
yeah.
seen in the show.
And I can sympathize with that to an extent because she likes Lan and she hates Moraine. All right, you can represent way, but like an Aes Sedai fighting with a sword is just so pointless. At least they have Leandrin make that point. At least they
Right.
have Leandrin say it. It's a point that someone makes to Rand in the books. It's like, oh, flaming sword. Yeah, for someone who can just blow up armies, good job with your little sword on fire there. And Rand's like, yeah, kind of good point. Like, why am I mucking around with a sword when I can like just blow people up?
Well,
Um,
speaking of that scene,
yeah,
what'd you think of them giving that scene to Leandrin instead of Swan?
I I don't like it because I don't think Swan's had anywhere near enough to do. They've given a lot to Leandrin. They've put a lot of effort into her character. I've got to say, I think the actress is pulling Leandrin off. I still hope they have a Leda. I don't think the entire red Aja needs to be represented by one person. But it looks like they're just throwing all the eggs in the Leandrin basket. So, like representing all reds, they certainly seem to be suggesting that she is a sitter because she seems to be talking in front of the hall all the time. There's these big meetings, and she seems to always be involved. So I think for the simplicity of the show, they're just saying all red sisters are actually Andrin, and yeah, I wish it had been Swan, really, because I think Swan hasn't had enough to do apart
Mhm.
from being a lesbian relationship kind of with Moraine, which like, come on, Swan's got loads more to her. Like, hello, but yeah. It doesn't hate. I don't hate it though. Like that's a thing I can totally say. It's in the show. They didn't have enough time. Leandrin's going to be a major actress. Swan's going to be a minor one, so they gave it to Leandrin. They also didn't have Swan there in episode 3 when it would have made complete sense to have her.
Mhm.
Like they've missed her out a lot, so she's obviously going to be a guest star rather than a common recurring, which is a shame. And I think they might have even done the stilling thing with Moraine, so Swan's not going to get that line either. And I tell you one thing, I wouldn't be surprised if they kill her.
Kill Swan.
Yeah, instead of having her stilled, now that they've already demonstrated stilling, so it's not interesting to them anymore. When the uprising happens, have her die. I think they'll
Mhm.
think that's more. We want to be a little Game of Thronesy, don't we? Because we heard that worked well. So surprise deaths. Uno, can I say? Just they like some surprise deaths, and I think they're hoping that shock value will win over, especially some TV only fans. But also be like, so the book readers go, oh, even I don't know what's coming. One last thing about the Leandrin thing, and then I want to know what you think about Leandrin having it instead of Swan. Is one thing I hated about it, like absolutely despised, is the same reason why I think they do the sword fighting with Nynaeve, the same reason why I think they have Egwene act like a punk, even though she's meant to be a humble little novice who doesn't put a toe out of line and like goes down to places where she shouldn't go. I think they are trying to suggest that surrendering to the power is not necessary.
Hmm.
They don't like the idea that you have to surrender and give into it and let it take you. Instead, because they don't like that idea, not for women, not in 2023, because it sounds like what people may have said incorrectly about a women's role in the past. Like you just, a woman gives in and lets the man tell her what to do or whatever. And so, because of that, I think they hate this idea of that to really work with Saidar, you must surrender to it. It just sounds too anti the strong, powerful female characters they want to display. And so when Leandrin does what she does, she suggests there's more than one way to connect to the source. In other words, if you want to, you can wrestle it down and force it to your will. And maybe for you, Nynaeve, that's the way it's going to be. You're not going to surrender, you're going to master it. And as we know, that's one of the beauties of saidin saidar, is they are both the one power, but they operate entirely differently. If you surrender to saidin, it kills you. So you have to like wrestle it and beat it down and control it and wrench it to your will. saidai you surrender to, and then it allows you to do everything. And that's the beauty of it. But they don't seem to like the idea of a male and female half of the power, which is bizarre. Like, don't do Robert Jordan if you don't want to do that. And instead, they keep talking about the one power, and they say it's dirty when a man touches it. Like, men shouldn't touch it. Instead of saying the power has two halves, they work distinctly differently. They just seem to not want to do that, and or just massively misunderstand how the power works. But there's a few things that have set up in my head that they just don't want to differentiate the two. And Liandrin is frequently used as the person who voices that. And she does there. She's like, it isn't the only way. Haha. Like, there's a dark side method. And I'm really hoping that they don't suggest that Nynaeve getting angry is her taking saidar by force. But I think that's what they're going to do. That's my prediction. And what did you think of that scene? Because I like the scene itself is good. And I think Liandrin handles it well. I think Nynaeve handles it well. I think the demonstrations are good. It makes the point that there's no point making a sword when you can do something far more. And it shows that even if someone's way more powerful than you, Nynaeve way more powerful than Liandrin, if you're clever and you know how to cut someone off, you can still beat them. I love all of that. That's really good.
Well, I as soon as I saw what was going on, I knew what scene this was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I also don't mind too much about Liandrin, because I'm just remembering her book character, and she was a villain, but she was like a really, really minor villain, compared to the others. Because her prominence just kind of drops off after book 2.
Yeah, okay. But this is book 2's season.
This is book 2 season.
And she is the villain of book 2. Well, her and...
She's one villain of book 2.
I would say she is the major villain of book 2.
As we have her, we got Suroth, we have...
Suroth is barely present.
Well, it's like... Remember, she gets...
Only right at the end of the book. They don't even get to Falme till after Liandrin's already done most of the book.
Well, book 2 is like... Liandrin falls off after she delivers the girls.
The girls, yeah. And then, like... but it's the... It's not... It's the High Lord. Remember, there's a High Lord there. Turok.
He wasn't at the dark... He wasn't a dark friend. It was...
No. Not at all. Not at all.
He's a bad guy, but he's not a dark friend.
But he's the one leading the Seanchan invasion, not Suroth.
Right. Yeah, but in the previews we do see another prominent Seanchan. I'm assuming that's Turok. Maybe we'll see.
They had the main bloke they had in the scenes that we've seen with the Seanchan is Ishmael.
No. In the previews, there's another Seanchan.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we've seen like Suroth, we've seen some female person with her, and then we've seen, like I say, Ishmael already with the Seanchan. So
right.
I think the main role of main male guy with them is going to be Ishmael. But yeah, I haven't noticed the preview with Turok, and if Turok's still in, that's good. I'd love to see a Blade Master fight.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Hopefully.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say too, I think Liandrin is a much more interesting character in the show than she was in the book.
Oh yeah, she's really good. I agree. They've done a great job.
Yeah, I think it's her character in the show is really piquing my interest, and I'm kind of interested in what they're going to do with her. I'm hoping they don't turn her into an Elida character, but knowing the show, it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope they do.
Haven't had any of the only Caemlyn people we have is Elaine so far.
Elaine.
Right? So I think
she's
doing an okay job. She's doing an okay job. I'm like trying to turn off the lore breaking stuff when I
the books are
Yeah,
And
I'm
if you
trying to make
can,
sure
the
when I'm
show's fine.
watching that the show is consistent. I know they're gonna break a lot of, allure, but at least the show's internal logic should be consistent. And that's kind of what upset
Mhm.
me when we're talking about Tel'aran'rhiod and the Trollocs and all that. Is like, I guess Trollocs can go in Tel'aran'rhiod, or what the hell are they doing there? It just doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I think the show's just going to say that they can. The Trollocs they're just going to say the Trollocs can. That Trollocs that don't need to use the ways that Trollocs can go into Tel'aran'rhiod. They're just going to have to. That's going to have to be their answer. Yeah. Me.
Right. So, what do you think of Alana in the tower? She has a much more prominent role, you know.
The thing is, yeah. Well, Alana is in season 1. She is completely consistent in season 2 with the Alana from season 1. Yeah. So
Right.
we can tell they're going to build on Alana as very sexually comfortable, and that's kind of okay. You know, Alana's got multiple warders. You know, it makes sense that she would be this way. They are using Alana as the person. They're kind of mixing her with the woman who saves warders because she's going
Right,
to give
Morale.
land to her. And I think it looks like they're not going to bond Rand to her. At least at the moment, it looks like that maybe they're not going to bother doing
Mhm.
that. Because if they're going to do the land thing as the unwilling warder, they're probably not going to do the Rand thing as the unwilling warder. So they might just be skipping Rand as Alana's warder entirely. We'll see. But that's what I would expect. Now it looks like they're going to do the land thing with her. And it is true that the Aes Sedai that Moraine leaves land's bond to in the books is meant to try and use sexuality as part of what helps a warder get over his grief. And it's
Mhm.
definitely implied that she tries that on with Lan, and it is kind of like this idea of against his will giving his bond. They have kind of suggested, though they haven't gone so far as to call it basically rape, which they do in the book. But like basically against his will, his position is being given to her. I don't think they'll push that too far. I think they'll make it uncomfortable, but I don't think they'll go where Robert Jordan went with it. I think they'll just suggest it's uncomfortable and a bit of a betrayal of trust. Um, Alana's fine. I think she is close enough to what she's meant to be. I think they've just accentuated some of her key points, and they clearly wanted to have someone in the main cast represent a very fluid and liberal sexuality. And of the main characters, Alana is the best fit for that.
Okay.
But they clearly enjoy it. Clearly, Rafe wanted some scenes where it's like, hey, look at all this threesome stuff. And then, like, and that's why they had the scene where they asked the warders, why you? He's like, I fell in love with the warder. I fell in love with an Aes Sedai. He's like, oh, I'm always the third wheel. Like, they know that there's a core part of the audience that will really like that. So that's clearly a card that is being played specifically for that because it has nothing to do with the plot at all. It's got nothing to do with any of our main characters, and it's taking time away from our main characters. In the first episode, Alana's warders have more to say than either Mat or Rand. What does that tell you about like their misunderstanding of the main character? Alana has more dialogue than Mat in both episodes. If you put all of her lines together, she gets more lines than freaking Mat. And like it's just yeah. I think sometimes they don't know who their main characters are, but they clearly love Alana. The showrunners love her, and that's why like they have her misunderstand the weave question and have it be about sex. So that's a bit funny, and they get to
Yeah.
have a laugh, which is good. But again, you're like, is this scene particularly useful? Like, is it adding stuff? Like, come on.
Which one?
Both of them. They have the.
Okay.
She walks in and gets the. Oh, I'm like surprised to see these people I knew were a threesome actually physically being a threesome in front of me and clearly not embarrassed. And then when she goes to ask the question about the power, like that question of how do you do 2 weaves? Well, think of them as full weaves instead of loads of individual bits. She could have just done that in the lesson, right? In the lesson itself about the weaves where she was present. So they could have saved like 4 minutes of show, right? And use those 4 minutes to do something like give Rand more of a character arc, like maybe show how he meets Selene. That would be way more important than having Egwene get embarrassed by Alana's threesome, for plot reasons. But they clearly want this stuff. It's clearly one of the showrunners is clearly loving it, and wants to have it in. Great. It doesn't do any damage to the show. It's just not particularly useful.
Well, we do find out a point in this episode that there has been a time jump. So
yeah, that was important to know. But we can just get that from Matt's one line. It's been 6 months since I touched the dagger, and we needed the time jump. That they needed to have a chance to grow up, for things to happen, for people to say, yeah, they haven't just been novices for 5 seconds. Because we also know that they haven't traveled back through the ways. So it's taken them a while to get here. So a bunch of those months will have just been traveling.
Right.
No, it's good. It's good there's been a time jump. I'm time jump positive.
Okay.
What do you think? Do you think they shouldn't have done time jump?
No, I think because of, time constraints, they're going to have to. It's something they're going to have to do frequently in this particular medium. They're not going to be able to include everything. And I know there is like one time jump that I can definitely think of in the books. But this wasn't one of them, because I know.
There's a couple, yeah.
But yeah, I was fine. I was glad that they're back in the tower already, and they're already novices and in the mix of everything. I thought it was great that they foregone all the initial things that they would have shown, But yeah. I thought the Alana scene was okay. I thought it was funny. Yeah, I knew what they were trying to do, but yeah, it's
yeah, and
definitely.
that's good enough. That's good enough, right?
Yeah, it was okay. I wasn't like angry about it or anything. I was like, okay, I guess they're trying to. It's just kind of a joke and a punchline type of thing that they're trying to set up there with the two scenes.
And that's entertainment. That's entertainment. One of the things that I miss though is like, there's just so many things that could have been so much easier for them if they just kept to the books a little bit more.
Right.
Like if Rand was with Perrin, Perrin's storyline would be much more interesting. If Matt was with Perrin, Perrin's storyline would be more interesting. If they just had them all together. But I think this first episode is called like Corners of the World because they're all separated, and it hurts the story that they're all separated. And one of the things I missed is the opening of the Great Hunt. I think is great, and I'm a bit sad we missed it. Like things like Lan teaching Rand to fight, or the cat crossing the courtyard scene, where Rand learns how to stand up to Aes Sedai, like Lan actually helping him realize how to do so, and showing that even though Lan is subservient to the Aes Sedai and doesn't want to break those rules and absolutely believes in what Moiraine is doing, that he's not just some subservient person. Like he cares about the boys, and like I think we missed a little bit of that Lan Rand mentorship, and I don't think we'll ever get it now, which is a bit sad. It's not a big deal, a little bit sad. But again, it means Swan missed out on other scenes. It's also where you normally see Liandrin for the first time use compulsion, and we don't get to see that either. So I'm a bit sad we missed some of those key scenes. But again, it's the nature of the format. What do you think about the Perrin's arc in episode 1? Well,
I had some issues with it. I'm glad they at least introduced Elias. I kind of had the feeling that they were going to turn Hurin into Elias.
Hurin.
Yeah, because he's not really like a major character, and
makes
Elias,
complete sense.
Yeah, Elias does have the opportunity. It seems like he's gonna have the opportunity to mentor Perrin a little bit.
which is
Um,
great.
yeah, and we get to kind of see. The only thing I have a problem with is what's going on with their powers.
That's just stupid.
Like,
They're
it's
they're implying like visions and werewolfiness, both of which are just wrong and stupid.
yeah, it's like, okay, so they kind of just threw out like the animal instincts out the window, and they kind of have some type of weird, like, I don't
I
know,
see the past.
yeah, some weird. Like, I get that Huron could smell violence and things like that. I guess that's kind of what they're trying to do here, where they
But
can
just say so.
see the
Just say so.
violence. Maybe that. Here's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming later on in the season. Well, I don't know now because they're captured, but hopefully at some point Elias and Perrin talk, and they have some type of explanation of something. We'll know. We'll see if it happens or not. But right now, I'm not entirely sure what his powers are, except that he can see like violent scenes being played out.
And he can rage out. We know he can because of something else that we saw in season 1, where he rescues
Right.
Egwene. But having Perrin be on the edge of rage is great. By the way, another minor point: why are they having fight with a sword?
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's another
just give him
thing
an axe.
too.
Just give him an axe.
I have no idea why they gave him a sword.
I mean, I'm not saying Perrin can't fight with a sword. A guy can pick up any weapon he likes. But when it's so obviously a symbolic part of who Perrin is, and so many people are fighting with swords, why not take this chance to have one of your characters fight with an axe?
I
Like,
think they
hello.
totally messed it up because he killed his wife with an axe. So they're
I don't
like,
care. Like, oh,
they
I wish
should.
I cared more, but I don't care.
I
Like,
think that's kind of what screwed Perrin out of an axe, to
and
be honest.
out of a character arc. Like,
Right.
I love. I think one of my problems is that Perrin is my favorite character, in the entire series of the Wheel of Time. Like, bar none. I prefer him to Rand. I prefer him to Matt. Um, and the thing about Perrin is he is dangerous, but he is controlled. He wants to do the right thing for the morally right reason. And he is genuinely a good person. But he constantly finds himself in situations where he is forced by circumstance or by his emotions to do something that ends up being something he regrets, but also had to do. And then deals with the consequence of that because he has a conscience and it hurts him when he makes
Mhm.
these choices. And I just don't think they're landing that at all. Instead, I feel that they've just gone, let's go for generic guy turning into a werewolf. Like, basically, I've got to control my rage, but eventually it's going to pour out and I'm going to go full wolf on you. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, like the cool thing about this is that it's different, is that it isn't just your typical, I'm going to turn into Wolfman and go nuts on you all. The nuance is what makes it Wheel of Time. That's why I
Right.
wanted. That's why I wanted the Waterbond thing to be handled better, because that's what makes it taste different. That's what makes this show, or could make this show, truly unique. The power, the nuance of it, the male female thing, the fact that you have to surrender to the female side and the male side is tainted. All of this is like the things that make it not generic powers number 4. Yeah, like there's tons and tons of series out there, tons, especially now that fantasy's blown up in the wake of the success of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. So let's have fantasy fatigue. How do you avoid that? You build on the unique nature of the world. And they just seem to be again and again discarding that in favor of something far more generic. And I think that's what they've done to Perrin. I really do. They've just he's not bad. The acting isn't terrible. They've not. At least they're keeping the main storyline, but they just seem to be taking him down this generic power route of oh, here's another guy who has visions. Here's another guy who has like a crazy mental side to him. Okay. Okay. Meh. Like, could have been so much more interesting. But hopefully when Elias trains him, that'll get better. Hopefully we'll see more wolves, like actually doing wolfy stuff. But like someone said to me, like, don't be stupid, Tristram. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, describe smelling? Like, that'd be stupid. It's a TV show. You have to show these things. And I'm like, but what if he'd just done it subtly? Like, come in and gone, oh, something horrible happened here. Like, what do you mean? It's like something horrible has done here. There's been some death. I almost can smell Fane. What do you mean you can smell Fane? Like that kind of thing. I would have loved that subtlety. And sometimes I feel it even like with, but I think in all modern shows, they just feel the need for this visualization. Like I think of the Sherlock Holmes show, and they couldn't just have him come in and notice things. When he notices things, they have to like show zoom angles, and then things go bink, zoom, bink, zoom, bink. Well, give me Basil Rathbone just pointing out anytime. I'm just going, oh, did you not notice this? And I'm going, oh, no, I didn't. But no, we have to make sure we have a slow-mo with visuals. Otherwise, we're too stupid to understand the show. And I don't like that. But I'm grateful that someone's with the Shinarians. I love the acting of Brother Book, of Loyal. I love that they tried to show like how tough and powerful he is, even though he's not primarily a warrior. That like taking down Augie was difficult. So like, or all like, and like that I love his character. I think his character is really good. And when he's with the Shinarans and Perrin, it's really showing that they're building a friendship. Love all of that. Love all of that.
All right. So I think we could talk about the end of this episode where, Lan tells Moiraine to get her own damn dinner. But yeah, there is a significant fight scene where we get to see a fade be a fade. You see you shaking your head there. What type of problems are you seeing in this scene?
What do you think first? What do you? So many things. Like I'm going to spoil it, guys. I hate.
Well, of course,
they
killed the fades without doing what they needed to do. Of course.
But not only that, but like Moiraine stabs one, like with a knife. Like the unpowered Moiraine Sedai knifes a freaking fade. Like if Moiraine without the power comes up against the fade, she is dead. Dead. That's it. Moiraine's got no like secret combat skills. And not only that, but even if you do have freaking combat skills, it's clear that a fade just cannot be handled by anyone less than the absolute best swordsman or groups of men. Like, no. Like, just no. And they don't only have one fade, they have a stack of them, and they can't take her out. Like, why are they jumping from shadow to shadow? Why don't they just walk up to her and go, you're dead? Huh, we've just saved the world from the shadow. Yay! But no, instead, they flit around the shadows if they're scared of this woman who can't do a freaking thing. And then she takes one out with a freaking knife. No. Absolutely rubbish. Then secondly, I do love that they show Lan come in. They do show Lan as awesome. I think they should show Lan beat a fade. That's what I think they should show. And then a second fade should come in and defeat him, and then have the Aes Sedai rescue them. That's fine. I know some people say it robbed Lan's victory that he got rescued by Aes Sedai. No, that's rubbish. Aes Sedai are powerful. They can do things Lan can't do. No problem with that. Lan got to show he was a badass. He absolutely saved her life. Great fight skills. Great scene. The way they have the Myrddraal move. The way the Myrddraal look. Amazing. Top notch. Only problem is, what the heck you doing pretending that Moiraine has a chance? Like, she does not. That's absolute rubbish. You're just telling me. And I think they've already made Myrddraal a little bit too weak. Like, a Myrddraal should be like almost a death sentence. Like, there's the amount of Myrddraal who die in the books can like, until like the last battle and stuff, can basically be less than 20 in 14 books. Like, they're really dangerous freaks. So now when we see a Myrddraal dead later, that Fane's taken out, we're like, well, Lan can take out 3 of them. Well, Moiraine can take out one with no fighting training with a knife. So yeah, I mean, of course Fane can take one out. Whereas when you know that like entire groups will just run away from a fade, it's different. So I think they did a pretty good job with it. I wish they'd made the fades more dangerous. I wish they'd just used 2 of them and basically had it be that Moiraine's legging it, almost certain to die, uses her cleverness to make sure she doesn't die immediately. Saved by Lan, who whips the head off. That was a cool little sequence. Great job. Lovely bit of choreography. And then the second Fade comes in and goes, oh, but Lan, you're not ready to fight two of us. And he's like, no, I'm already wounded. And by the way, take a freaking wound from a Myrddraal blade, and they're just acting as if it's an ordinary sword.
Yeah,
These are
they don't seem to be poisoned or anything.
They're the blades of freaking Thakandar. Hello.
Well, Moraine kind of got poisoned in season 1, but
they just ignore it now because who cares about season 1? That was like a different year. Hello. But this is what I'm saying is like be internally consistent. And then the other Sedai kick in and save the day. I'm okay with that. The way you deal with Myrddraal is the power. That's the only way to deal with significant numbers of Myrddraal because they can kill anybody because they're super fast and all that. And so, in some ways, aesthetically, I loved it. Couple of issues with Moraine being a freaking badass. And when they have Nynaeve take someone out one day with a sword and a toothpick, I'm just going to bang my head against the wall and pretend I didn't see it. Because, didn't she train with the warders once? Shut up. That's what I'm going to say. But anyway, but the visuals were beautiful. Lan's little sequence, awesome. Loved the fight for that reason. And I'm glad it slightly humbled Moraine. And it was a good end to the episode. But again, they're lying there dying on the floor. And he's like, what aren't you telling me? Is that really what Lan's going to be saying? And I know that we've got to do this for the wider audience. But if he just stared at her, I've just been like, and then she just looks at him and says like something like, don't look at me like that. Like as if silently between them, she knows that he is holding her in contempt for what she's done and saying, look, I saved you there. Do you see? Because I still love you and would die for you as my Sedai, even if we're not bonded, because that's who the frick I am. Because death to me is lighter than a feather and duty is heavier than a mountain. How great would it have been if that had happened instead? If she'd gone, why did you come? I told you not to come. And if he just said, death is lighter than a feather, duty is heavier than a mountain. The fans would have all gone, oh, yes. And instead, what aren't you telling me? Oh, shut up. Have you not met Lan Mandalorian? So but you're right. If I didn't know the books, I wouldn't have that problem at all. I'd have been like, oh, that was clever the way she tricked them into the knife point. Yay. I'd have felt better about it.
And before we get in the next episode, I forgot to mention there is a scene that kind of links all the characters together in their different areas when they're thinking about Beltane. So we get to see.
I like that.
And that's when they introduce Rand back into the series. So we get to see what he's up to, and he's actually lighting a lantern for Beltane as well. And we find out that it's Beltane, I believe, through Mat's dialogue. When we get to see him for the first time being in captivity.
I think it's the scene before because Nynaeve comes in and she realizes that Egwene's making a lantern.
Oh,
and she's like, right. Oh, I forgot. But she's got the letter that she sent from Perrin. And then you find out that then they read the same letter to Mat, and that's how you know that Mat is mentioned in the letter, even though Liandrin skips that part out and makes Mat feel like they've all ignored him.
Right.
So that's just one of the things that. But yeah, but just to be clear, Dusty, love that. Love the fact that like Nynaeve's got so caught up in things she's forgotten some things from home and feels guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
Love the fact that no matter where they are, their love of their culture is still real. It's a great shout out to a little world building. It's also this idea of fish out of water. They still are those village kids. You know, it was only 6 months ago that they were that was like the big event of their year, and it shows that they still care about that heritage. And it was a nice shout out to like Perrin hasn't forgotten that he was married. Like he's still mourning. And they didn't have him give a big speech, but you just see him put his wedding ring on it and stuff. Like, yeah, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. That's a nice touch. That's a nice way of reminding us that whether we're in prison, whether we're away from our friends, whether we're on a mission, or whether we're studying, There are things that bring us all together. And I think people around the world have different things that are culturally important to them that the watchers can go, I resonate with that. I resonate with that. Yeah, whether it be Ramadan or Christmas or New Year's Eve or St. Paddy's Day, whatever it is that people feel that connection around the world. And like, I know what my dad will be doing right now. That's a cool thing. And I thought that was very well handled. I'm glad they didn't skip it, because otherwise the main character wouldn't have been in the first episode at all.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. So going into the next episode, we actually start off with Rand, and we get to see Carrion and the Foregate specifically. And we also get to see Selene, a new character introduced into the show.
Yeah.
Who seems to be a bit mysterious. And she's supposed to be mysterious. They're not really supposed to give her too much background about what she is, who she is, what she's doing. But yeah, we get to see the Foregate. I thought they did a pretty good job of doing the surroundings, but we have a different turn here for Rand. He seems to be working at a mental institute of some sort, as some type of orderly. We see him walking the halls of this place. So that's how they introduce Rand. So of course we're like, what is going on with this guy? What is he doing? But of course we do find out that he's looking for some information. One thing I also noticed is that we don't get the full title screen anymore. It seems like they kind of excise the intro out of the beginnings of these. Yeah, very short. So we kind of go back to the aftermath of what happened with Rand. I'm sorry, with the Fade battle, and they kind of have like a little bit of a moment. She still hasn't, she's still a bit distant with Lan, but it seems like Lan is kind of understanding. Totally. Yeah.
Everyone's telling him that he needs to be.
Right.
Yeah, like, Rand, why are you being such a Lan? Why are you being such a jerk? Like, why are you being such a jerk? This woman's grieving. It's got nothing to do with you. It's not like you want to die or like have just lost your will to live and are now considering death. Like, oh, the warder from season 1. No, it's completely different. It's only your Aes Sedai who's involved in this. You need to jolly well just get over yourself and shut up and actually listen to her. And one of the best things is that Lan goes, I think it's the first time anyone's ever told me to be quiet. I'm like, yeah, because you don't need to be told to be quiet. Like, she is freaking out of order, which doesn't make sense for Moiraine. But yeah, and like, no gratitude. Like, where is her falling on his neck going, thank you for saving my freaking life? Like, and I guess that wouldn't be Moiraine's character either, to be like, oh, I'm so grateful. But still, come on. She's like, she's learned nothing. She doesn't give a crap. Oh, that's how they're trying to portray it. Now, I get it. They're trying to say she's pushing him away. That's like for his own good. And so I'm just going to have to try and pretend that's what she thinks is clever. But the thing that's weird is, if you look at the Bail Doman scene, they want us to believe that Moiraine is really clever at reading people. Yeah? If you look at how Moiraine manipulated the Aes Sedai in season 1, how she manipulated the kids to come with her, how she even outsmarted Nynaeve to make her come with them. All of this has always been to suggest that she's really good at reading people, understanding people, and manipulating them correctly. How has she just completely misread Lan? Like, how come she just doesn't seem to have a clue how to handle this man who has been her closest ally and confidant for the last, I don't know how long it's supposed to have been, 10, 20, 30 years. And she just looks incompetent and stupid. And you think, that's not Moiraine. Anyway. So yeah, it's my least favorite part of the storyline. That's all I got to say.
All right, we do get back to Perrin and his hunt for the horn,
which is good. It's better.
And I think we do got to mention that Ingtar does have some dialogue in this, and he
does
playing a stable leader role, and he's actually telling It's interesting. I know in the last episode he talks to Perrin, basically about revenge.
Yep.
And how he buried a traitor and he gave him a proper burial.
Yeah.
And Perrin was like, if this was me, this.
We wouldn't be burying this punk. He's an
Yeah.
evil guy. He got all these people killed.
Right. Which is interesting about Ingtar's character because
I like it.
Yeah, I think it makes like a good twist if whatever happens. We'll see.
Yeah. But it shows that Ingtar's saying even bad people think they have reasons. That's his point. And he's saying, like, even if someone is bad, doesn't mean you need to treat them like crap either, which is also another good point. Like, and even regardless of where they go with Ingtar, those are good points to make. And we can see them portrayed in other things the showrunners are doing. So, for example, Liandrin is shown as bad, but having some points. In her head, she has some reasons for what she's doing. We've seen that Ishmael is meant to be portrayed, certainly in the show, as very much thinking that he isn't necessarily evil, that he has a point. And so I think it was good for Ingtar to say that, to show that, like, there's people on the good side who can say, well, yeah, actually, these people aren't just mindless Trollocs. They have thoughts too. And maybe we're not always the only people who can have a purpose or think that we're right.
Right. So,
do you think that was handled well, Dusty?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Ingtar's the moral center. Considering what happens with that character later on, I thought that was really played well.
Yeah, okay.
And I hope I hope it resolves pretty interestingly.
Yeah,
because to be honest, I really liked Ingtar in book 2. Like, I really liked his character, even though I know what he did was bad. But I thought he resolved the issue well in the end of it. But in this part of the book, or in the show where they're at, they kind of roll in 2 different powerful scenes into one. And it's the flies scene and the Myrddraal scene. So this is all in the same town. I believe in the books it's in different towns, right?
Yeah, and different people. Like the fly thing is with Rand,
right?
And the Myrddraal thing, like way back in the line when they first, but they have to. I'm fine with this happening because for the purpose of the books, they just don't want to miss a cool scene. I'm sad that Rand didn't get to have the fly scene in some ways because I think it also shows a little bit of Rand's craziness. But yeah, I get it. I get it. They want to make sure the cool scenes are in. The Myrddraal thing is vital because it shows how dangerous Fain is. It shows that, like, you might have been thinking the Myrddraal's leading and Fain's just tagging along. And then you're like, oh no, someone's in this group that's more dangerous than a Fade.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think they're going to have any Fain POVs. So what they had to do, I guess, is use Perrin's new power to see how much of an evil bastard Fain is.
Yeah, probably right. Probably right.
So, because I know in the book he has POVs, and we get to see how much of a bastard he is.
And we also have very clever people who specifically draw things out. Like when they find the Dark Prophecy, they mention what's going on. When they find where he's gone, you have people discussing and saying, "Looks like Fain did this, and we're tracking him down." And there's a lot of discussion, whereas you can't have that much boring conversation in a TV show.
Right. All right. So yeah, they have these 2 scenes, and then we Elias pops up while he's looking at the flies, and he's kind of telling Perrin, "Hey, this is a true thing that's happening to you," and Perrin is like in denial about it still.
But I love that, like Elias arriving, Elias being combined with Hurin. Yes, like Hurin is not a big character. It's absolutely fine for him to be combined with Elias. Good choice. Elias getting more time with Perrin, especially considering absent in book 1 when he would have done some of his training with Perrin. Great, love that. And Elias like recognizing Perrin for what he is, trying to make Perrin confront it? Yes, especially if he does it quite subtly, and I think on the whole he does. He isn't like, listen to me, boy, I'm going to tell you what's up. He's like, no, he's being more subtle about it than that, and expecting Perrin to want to learn and want to move. So it's good. It's good. I'm favorable to the Elias thing. Let's see where it goes. But as far as this episode, I think it's a decent introduction. It's a decent reason to have him in, and it's a good way to explain how they're able to follow Fane without the sniffer. So I think this was actually a neat move by Rafe, and actually quite a clever way of managing the huge number of characters in Robert Jordan's works. I think it would have gone even better if the other boys had been with them.
Yeah,
but it works. It works. I'm not complaining. Like, good move, Rafe. Good move.
All right. So next thing we do see Rand, and he's in the asylum, and it seems like he's befriended some type of old blade master.
Yeah.
And I do like to see that we actually get some sword forms mentioned, at least.
Yeah.
We actually get to hear them.
And that would have been in Land's training, you see, that got skipped. But did you notice they called him Errol?
Yeah. What's the significance of that?
I think that's a shout out to Errol Flynn.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, because famous for swashbuckling movies.
Oh, okay.
And so I think that's what that is. I think that's meant to be like an in-joke homage. I don't know, but that's what I think. When I heard it, I thought, why? Because at first, when you hear a name in Wheel of Time, you think there must be a character, right? And you go looking, and I can't think of any Wheel of Time character with that name. So I think it's deliberately a little nod to old movie classics. Errol Flynn, Robin Hood, and things like that, because he's a swashbuckler, and like that's what I'm thinking. I don't know that for a fact. I'll look in the X-ray. Maybe it'll have more information. Behind the scenes, but this idea of him being like a carer, I think they love that as I think that's very 2023, but also, so I think that's going to be quite popular with a lot of the audience. But this change I can get behind because it has a point. You can see that Rand is going to go insane. He's worried about going insane. Getting him with experience with people who are insane, brilliant. And even better that they're using this as the opportunity to hook him up with Loghain. And it looks like they are hooking him up with Loghain specifically with Rand wants someone to help him understand the power. Someone who can understand how he's going to use it as a man. That makes sense, both in-world context and as the book plot context. So I love it. I like it. It's a massive change, but I am totally okay with it because it has a plot purpose that makes sense with the way they've established the plot.
Right.
Yeah,
because at first I was like, where are they taking this? I was like, okay. I was like really confused until like the end of the episode. But I was like, okay. At the end, I was like, okay, now I see what these scenes are all about then.
And that's a good TV show, right? When it has a plot that you're going, hang on, what's going on? What's going on? And then it makes sense. That's what you want an episode to do, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's plot. Plant the seed, let it grow, pay it off. Okay, I'm with you. I wish in a way that we'd seen Selene rock up. I wish we'd been able to play around with alternate worlds. I totally understand why they didn't do that.
Yeah, I think it would be
too much,
a bit too far-fetched for modern audiences.
Yeah, and it just takes away because the portal stones aren't used hardly ever again. And it does, and like if you go to a made-up world and then this beautiful girl just throws herself out, you're like, oh, you're not suspicious at all. I mean, I read The Wheel of Time for the first time when I was like something like 13, and loads of the plot things caught me by surprise, but Selene didn't, because you're like, obvious honey trap. But the idea that Rand's come here, tried to get a job, this person's shown him a bit of compassion, and then a relationship's developed with a horny teenager and, this girl who's clearly well into him, totally believable. Totally believable. I wish she wore more white, but that's just a thematic choice. She doesn't have to wear white all the time. It would make no sense for her to wear white all the time. But I wish that there was just that nod stylistically. But apart from the fact that he's in Caerhine and skipped his whole journey down the coast, which I find a bit annoying, it's actually been handled quite well. It's been handled quite well. And what do you think of the way that Selene and Rand have been done? Because we've talked about like the mental home stuff. What do you think about this? Because remember, this is only episode 2, so we don't get all of their relationship. Their relationship will continue. But for this first bit, what was your feeling?
Well, look, they did age the relationship up a bit, made it more modern and mature. Same thing what they did with Egwene and him at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
So to me, it's consistent with the show at least.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with it. We know that a lot of time has passed, so I guess some type of relationship has been in the works there.
For a couple of
Uh,
months at least, you'd think.
yeah. But I'm okay with not knowing, like, the impetus of it,
Yeah.
it just kinda
Okay.
reminds me of what happened with, Tom and his girlfriend. Like, we didn't
Yeah.
know how it started, they were just, "Oh, we find them again, and he's
Yep.
in a relationship." So it's kind of like the same deal with me.
I'm really
Um,
hoping that Tom shows up in Caerhine.
Me too. I really hope
Please,
to.
please, 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 please. And just on Selene, like, because we're not trying to like spoil the future for those of you who don't know everything, but like one of the things about Selene is that Selene's meant to be shockingly good looking, like not just like good looking, like shockingly good looking. And the problem is, it's very difficult to do that with any human actress.
Yeah.
Like, how do you establish that someone's meant to be better looking than everyone else? And you just can't do it. And so or it's extremely difficult to make the audience buy. You just have to. So what I would do if I were the showrunner is I would have a good looking actress, which they have, and then I would have other people demonstrate her beauty. Like when she walks into the room, I'd have everyone look at her. Do you have to like zoom in on their faces? But I would like quietly make the point that anyone Selene walks past, there you go. Huh. I would always like have someone say like, "Why is she walking around with you?" to Rand, or
Well,
something.
Rand's like
Some little
Rand is
comment.
super damn hot, like,
Yeah,
from all the shows that I've been watching and all the people commentating, all the girls are just, like, fawning over him.
they do like him. They do like him, and they're very comfortable with him being freaking hot. But the thing is that she is, like, at least in world, is just shockingly, shockingly intensely good looking. And I just wish they'd been able to make me believe that a little more. Like, I'm not saying the actress isn't good looking; she clearly is, but they could have just done something. But I know they don't want to. I guess they don't want to make that a main part of her character. Like, they don't think that's good, that a woman
Well,
who's known for just being super beautiful.
they would have had to use, like, modern makeup techniques that don't exist in this world, so
Yeah,
she
but the
would
point
have
is,
looked odd if they
yeah, but
kinda did
don't. But let me ask you this. Let me
that.
ask you this. Knowing what you know about that character, do you not think she would look out of place in any room she walks into?
Yeah, I think they could have done, like, the modern makeup thing on her
Yeah,
if
and just said, "Huh, why does this woman look so startlingly gorgeous? Maybe there's something odd about her." They clearly did something odd with her hair. Like, I don't know if that's her real hair or not, but it is super black. Like, it's super black. It's like it's where midnight goes when it wants to become black. That's what her hair is. It
Yeah,
is
she has, like,
super, super
really
dark.
dark black
I'm
hair.
assuming it's a wig or like incredibly dyed. It's certainly not her natural hair. You can tell it's not her
Mhm.
natural hair. And so they've done that clearly to make a point. Like, so they're not above making some changes. And by the way, if you're trying to tell me that Moraine doesn't look like she has makeup on, I disbelieve you.
No, I'm not saying that she doesn't have
So what I'm
makeup
saying is
on.
modern makeup clearly exists in this world.
No, I'm saying, like, modern makeup, like, the way that models do their makeup,
Yeah.
it's, like, extremely contoured, and
Yeah.
it's like their face is like the difference
Yeah,
between their face without makeup and makeup is like ridiculous.
yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, you don't want to do that. She should look naturally gorgeous. But anyway, that's why I think you have to do it kind of with people's comments and reactions rather than the woman, because no woman can just be the most beautiful woman in the world.
Right.
Like, you can't do that. Yeah, you have to just kind of sell it by the reactions of the people around. One of the people it makes me think of is in The Greatest Showman, a film with Hugh Jackman. They have a female singer who sings a show-stopping number, and she's clearly meant to be gorgeous, and the actress is gorgeous, but it is his reaction to the actress and the way that she is lit and presented that suggest that she is the most beautiful woman in the show. The other actresses in that show are probably as good looking as she is in real life, but the way the show presents them all, they present his wife, who is a very good looking woman, as normal, a good looking but normal woman who lives a normal life with her normal husband. And yet they present this woman and they just make you think, by the trickery of film and by the storytelling tricks, they establish it. And I was hoping that they would do that with her. I hope that maybe in future scenes there will be a reveal for her character at some point, which will establish that she's like, actually, I was kind of hiding just how awesome I am, and I'm going to reveal it. But I liked her characterization. I like how she makes herself useful to him, but is still a bit jealous of his time and attention. I thought her acting was very good. She fawns over him and him over her, but they are still a young couple, even though they're not teenagers. And so I'm totally up for that. Like, I think that is how people act when they're in their first really serious relationships. They do go a bit over the top. And it's like, oh, I'm getting a lot of sex for the first time. You're amazing. So I buy all that. I think that's quite legit. And I love how they made her useful to him because she understands the game of houses. I thought that was very good. Very good.
All right. So did you want to talk about how Leandrin has basically taken Nynaeve under her wing?
So we mentioned in the first one that Liandrin is being shown as Nynaeve's other option. Nynaeve hates Moiraine, which is completely canon. Moiraine has the man that she wants. Moraine's the one who's taking the people that she's trying to protect and pushing them into this life, so she resents her manipulation. Liandrin is presenting herself as, look, I'm just way more straightforward. I'm not going to pretend to want things that I don't want. It's consistent with Liandrin of Series 1. It's consistent with the Liandrin in Series 2. I think the character is well developed, and she's more than Liandrin in the books, for sure. And I think they've done a good job with it. And I think they are giving Nynaeve something really to think about, which is, I dislike this woman, but some of what she says genuinely makes sense to me, because Nynaeve doesn't want to be a manipulator. She doesn't want to be someone who tricks people into doing her will. She wants people to do her will because it's the right thing, because she is right. That's what Nynaeve thinks. And like, I love how Liandrin has done different things. So in the first series, she did like blunt thing where she sat down and said, you should be a red kind of thing. And like, no. In this one, she's done the, if you want to learn how to channel, you're going to have to break through your block. Anger is going to be a part of that. As long as they don't go with, you can wrestle saidar to your will, I'm fine with that. And then she showed, in this one, she tries another tack. So she's tried hiding her friends from her. Didn't really work. And now she's trying something new, and she tries healing. And I love that. That's a brilliant point from the books. That is one of the big things that pulls Nynaeve in. She goes originally just to protect them from the Aes Sedai, but when she gets the tower, she realizes she wants to be able to heal, and that without the power, she cannot heal in the way that she would like to. And when we see in her accepted test in the third episode, we can see that she's like, if only I could heal at will, my goodness, the good I could do. And that is tempting to her in a way that gold and riches and power over kings is not interesting to her. That isn't tempting her. It isn't even really tempting to her to blow people up with the power. What is tempting to Nynaeve is this. And so I loved that scene. I love the fact that they got it in. I think they could have done it even better, but the fact it was even there just really spoke to me. And the fact they had it be an accepted and said, "Oh, you want to be an accepted." That's great foreshadowing to quickly mention an accepted so that the audience who don't know the law can quickly realize, oh, there's this level up where you get a bit more freedom and you can do more stuff like healing. And Nynaeve wants this so that when Nynaeve gets it, the audience know what to expect. So I thought that, and it shows that Liandrin's not an idiot. She's tried some stuff that hasn't really worked. So now she's trying to push her to go forward quickly and do this. It's a little bit sad that it seems to be suggesting that her going through the rings early is like, or her being pushed to accelerate early is like a thing that the bad guy's doing. Like she shouldn't want to do this. Whereas in the books, it's portrayed as, no, Nynaeve needs to do this because she's older than most novices and because of her power level. That's why we need to advance her quickly. In this, it's shown as Liandrin's idea, and other people think, is this going to get her killed? But I think it works. So I like the Liandrin trying to tempt Nynaeve, even though now that she's seen that yellows do healing, like in a way, Liandrin shot herself in the foot. Because now she's definitely going to choose the healing Aja. What did you think? Are you liking the Liandrin Nynaeve interplay? Because I'm okay with it, like I say.
Yeah, I'm liking it. Like I do like the expansion of Leandrin's character. I'm thinking, man, she's really great. She's like helping Nynaeve, but we know that she's not like the greatest of people.
And
So
yeah, and the show isn't pretending that she's lovely.
no,
The show's showing that she's doing it for her own reasons.
Right. And but we also get to see Nynaeve walking in on Liandrin.
Yeah, because she follows her, right?
Right. And I believe it must be her son, by the way she's talking to him.
Oh, absolutely. If it's not her son, then they've completely led us down the garden path and on purpose. And because she's just mentioned that Aes Sedai live for ages, and then they show it, and she calls him like my little boy or my beautiful little boy. You don't call your husband your beautiful little boy. Yeah, you just don't. And so, but a mum could call you her beautiful little boy no matter how old you are. She's the only person who gets to do that kind of crap.
Right.
And mums get away with everything. And it was a good scene, and it's something that, like, apart from the fact like, wow, Liandrin at some point had a guy. Apart from that, like that.
Hey, maybe she turned red because that relationship was really sour or something.
Yeah, and not all reds have to be like completely like anti-sex and anti-men. They're just anti-men who channel the power because that's dangerous. But yeah, I think that's sometimes played too high a card. Like, it doesn't mean that all reds are just like crazy lesbian man haters. There's variety amongst the reds, and Liandrin is a clearly attractive, dangerous woman, which many men would find very attractive. And so it's absolutely believable, and I love it. I thought it's a good addition to her character. It helps us have sympathy for her, but it doesn't make her into a good person.
Right.
And it also allowed Nynaeve to show that she's got knowledge. And it's also something that would plant in Nynaeve a seed of doubt. So if they are going to have her fall for some of Liandrin's wiles, that kind of thing is why I'm going to be able to believe it.
Right. Yeah, if it plays out what we think it's going to play out, her getting close to Nynaeve in this way makes a lot of sense.
Correct. And like, you're a bad person in some ways, but actually you've helped me understand how to break my block. You are trying to protect people like I try and protect people. Sometimes I do crazy stuff to protect the people I love. Maybe, you also understand that some of the things that the Aes Sedai do aren't good. You're trying to break the mold like I'm trying to break the mold. So even though we're not the same, I can start thinking, I get you. And then that allows for trust, which allows for potential betrayal. So I like it. I think they've handled the Liandrin character really well.
Right. So I think we gotten that relationship out of the way. I think what we could talk about now is Egwene and Egwene and Elaine. And how? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a big win. I think it's a
Yeah.
really big win. We already knew all the other main characters. Elaine's like the last big main character of like the three main girls and the three main guys to turn up, and the actress is
Well, we
great.
still have Avienda, but at least
Well,
we know she's coming.
yeah, but like, yeah, that's true. Avienda is one of the Supergirls. But normally when people talk about the Supergirls, they specifically mean Elaine, Egwene, and Nynaeve primarily. And if you look at the books, those three do get more time than
Right.
Avienda gets. Even though Avienda and Min are both crucial, I would say Avienda is on Min's level, not on Elaine, Egwene, and Nynaeve's level
Right.
in terms of book importance. I'd
Mhm.
say she's one tier down. Still a massively important character,
Well,
but
she's
not.
super important in book 4.
Yeah,
Like,
and in several books. But what I'm saying is not on the tier in sheer numbers of pages, etc.,
right.
that Elaine, Egwene, and Nynaeve are.
Mhm.
But she. The thing is, You're always a little worried, new big actress coming in who's going to be here for every series, but she's awesome. She's really good. I liked her. I think they did show that she has that like naivety of being brought up in the royal household, but they didn't just make her some prissy punk. Thank goodness. They had her be a good friend almost immediately and want to latch on to Egwene, but they didn't make her lapdog. Like she was able to stick up for herself and call Egwene on some of her crap. I really loved it. I loved it. I loved the way they balanced her. They made her make a mistake, but not make her stupid. They even managed to put in a little bit of plot on that she likes to tinker. I like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's a really nice early sign of where they want to take her later.
Mhm.
Because I've got to say, in the books, I don't think that was well seeded. Like
No,
Robert George is
yeah.
going along, she's just this generic Aes Sedai who's a pretty princess, and then it's like, I'm super with this inventing stuff, and you're like, where'd that come from? Like, it's like which makes you think it's a talent, as in like a gift, rather than like part of her character. In this, it looks more like a part of her normal character that gets
Mhm.
enhanced by the power. Like Nynaeve is already someone who loves to heal and would have done it with herbs if she hadn't had the power. Then with the power, it just enhances. Egwene is like got a willpower and a leadership quality, and like she would have been the wisdom of two rivers one day. She would have been the leader of the women's circle. Like she was always destined to be a leader. She thought
Mhm.
of herself as a leader. Then when she becomes one, it's just an enhancement on who she is. But that thing came out of left field in the books. I think it's really clever, in a very simple way for Rafe to drop that little character point in right now. And I was applauding. I was like, yep, more of that. So I love that. I loved all of the Egwene Elaine stuff. I love the actress. I think she did a great job. I'm so glad they didn't feel the need that we have a like good white female actress who's
Mhm.
allowed to be a goodie. Um, Other than Moraine, I think that's lovely because there's just a lot of diversity in this, and I was like, I want to see some Caucasians as well. So it was nice to have some of that in, and especially with her hair coloring described the way it is. I really like it. I think it's a nice touch, and it gives me this flavor that Andor is like a bit more of a geographical place. There is some minor niggles, but these are incredibly minor, which is that she's like recognizes Two River Weave and knows that Two Rivers is part of her kingdom, and you're my subject. Like Two Rivers is meant to be so out of the way that like most of Andor kind of just doesn't even consider them a part of Andor. They just happen to be on that side of the line, and yet they've just kind of ignored that here. That's completely niche. Only people like Tristram Johnson get bothered by that.
Yeah, I
But
think what they're trying to do is establish that she is very well versed in the world,
yeah,
which
which
is
is
kind
fine.
of what her
That's true.
character is a
Yeah,
bit. She's
which
kind of like the culturally aware character, and I think that's kind of what they're trying to do there.
yeah, and historically aware as well. Like she knows it because she's had proper teaching, tutoring, where none of
Mhm.
the other characters have. None of them, except maybe Tom. But
Oh,
like
yeah, Tom would know.
Tom knows everything.
Moraine probably as well.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is our main cast, the
Yeah.
younglings, like Rand and Matt and Perrin, have all grown up in a little village. They know about horse rearing or blacksmithing or sheep herding. They don't have a clue about the difference between the court in Caerhine and the way the daughter heir works in Andor.
Right.
And so it absolutely makes sense that Elaine does. So I think Elaine is a big win for the show. I loved her. I loved the way she was shown. I loved the way she was acted. I love her interaction with Egwene. I think they had great chemistry straight away.
Yeah, and it's nice that she was like that she was someone that Egwene could confide in. So Elaine just told her straight up, "Hey, jealous isn't a good look on you."
Yep, love
Um,
it.
and then we had the part where, and we didn't even really talk about this Aes Sedai, Sheriam.
I like Sheriam. I like Sheriam. I love that the fact they've introduced Sheriam. They make her look quite old for an Aes Sedai, but
Yeah,
hey, forget it. But I don't care. I don't care.
they
She should
actually make her look older than she actually is.
well, and especially considering she's ageless.
Mm,
But they made it very clear that she's a blue,
right,
which is nice, without actually saying at any point that she was blue.
right.
So I love that. I love that. And I think she acts on the whole like Sheriam should.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm 2 thumbs up for actress for Sheriam, especially considering they've already shown us they're not going to do the ageless look.
Right,
So that isn't really a problem. Like you say, it only has to be internally consistent, really, and it is absolutely internally consistent. She's a great additional character. She adds a nice foil both to Nynaeve, to Egwene, and to Liandrin. So I think Sheriam added to this in every way. I'd love
right,
to see a Sheriam interaction with Moraine or a Sheriam interaction with Swan. That would be interesting. But really good, really strong start. I can see her fulfilling her role really well in future series.
right. So one of the scenes I wanted to mention with Elaine that just kind of really built her character and her was when she was about to be scolded
Yeah,
about the furniture and having servants, and Sheriam wanted to beat one of her servants, and Elaine stepped in and she's like, "No, I'm going to take the punishment."
because it
And
wouldn't have been a servant. It's whoever let her do it. It might have been a servant. It might have even been an Aes Sedai. We don't know. Someone who
right,
wanted to do Elaine's mom a favor, and but it's cool. I absolutely agree with you. Like what is shown is brilliant.
right. So yeah, Elaine, I'm loving Elaine. Great job. I have pretty much no complaints about
Agreed.
the actress. Spot on,
Yeah,
basically.
and the interaction's really good because Egwene's first interaction with her is a little bit like, "Huh, you're like a bit this," but then Elaine wins her over, partially because Elaine quickly gets down off her high horse when she realizes that it is Egwene's room, shows her knowledge, shows her understanding, and secondly, like says, great novice partnerships were made by people next door. Like, I'm not going to put myself above you. I want to have the novice experience, and then when she does what you just said, when she refuses to give up the person who helped them, said, "No, if there's a punishment, like I accept it, but I accept it. I'm not going to dob someone in." And you kind of see that really registers with Egwene. Egwene's like, "Oh, you are,
You have
you've
some
got,
integrity.
yeah," and you're not afraid. Like in this, because like Sheriam like says, "Okay, you're going to get a beating, basically. You're going to get a beating," and she's like, "Okay, when do you want me?"
Before lunch or after lunch?
Yeah, like not like, but I'm the daughter heir. You can't do that to me. I'm not an ordinary novice. She's like, no, I totally accept it. And it's one of the best examples of how the novices should be acting, in contrast to Gwen, who does not act like a novice frequently. No, sometimes she does. But anyway, so no complaints. One of the strongest parts of the episode, one of the strongest parts of the series is her introduction.
Alright, so just a quick mention about a scene that I'm
Matt?
looking at here. Well, before we get to Matt,
Okay.
what did you think about Moraine trying to stab a bitch, when she was about to stab Varen? When Varen had found out that, the Dragon Reborn was in play?
Yeah. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, it's already established that Moraine in this is ready to kill people. Like, she did that in the first series. Remember, she said, like, I'd like kill all of you if it meant saving the dragon.
Mhm.
Like in the first series.
I wouldn't
So,
let I'd kill you before letting the dragon fall
dragon.
into the hands of the
Yeah,
Dark One.
yeah, absolutely. And so, like, So if you're going to say that that's Moiraine's approach, then I think that makes sense. What I think is like a little amusing is like, yeah, you're stilled, Varen ain't. You better be pretty lucky if you think you're taking out an Aes Sedai with your little knife. Yeah, like good
It's
luck
not
with
like
that.
Varen wasn't aware. She
Well,
knew.
Varen's clearly aware, and then calls her on it, right? She's like, "Oh, I'm like almost," and I actually quite like it because like a little pat on the head. Oh, well done for caring so much about the Dragon Reborn. Like I was testing you, darling. And again, that's why I wish that Varen was a little bit more ditzy, like she is in the book, so that that scene could have been like this, like if she's just going, "Oh, I wonder if one of them's the dragon." And then you see her go for the knife, and you're like, "Oh no, this poor old woman who doesn't realize what dangerous ground she's treading on is about to die." And then she pulled out those dialogue lines, and we're like, "Oh, she's freaking aware." That would have been a more cool thing for me. But no, it was well done. I loved that scene. I loved what she said about oaths, and she's like, "You will. You need to swear me an oath of allegiance." And she's like, basically, like, "Nope, I'm not gonna." And even if I did, I could find my way out of it. And like Moiraine's like, and Moiraine drops it because actually Moiraine can't enforce it. And it's good. And I like that because it was somewhat subtle. Like Moiraine doesn't go, no, you have to. She realizes, oh, I'm no longer in power. I'm actually no longer in control of this. And in my head canon, I'm trying to say that's why Moiraine is out of character. I'm trying to say that's why Moiraine's being such a prat and behaving so badly and treating Lan like crap, is that basically Moiraine's been broken by her stilling and is just struggling with the fact that she's now irrelevant or close to irrelevant because she can no longer use her powers. So she's to the Aes Sedai. She is nothing. She's lost all her authority.
And she's
so
exiled too.
she's exiled, but she was exiled as like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge between mates. But now Swan can't use her.
Right.
Swan doesn't know that she's powerless. Exiled with power is one thing. Exiled without it is very much another. And like I think that's why we're getting a lot of Swan's storyline that we see after Swan is stilled in Moiraine now. And like some of that erratic behavior. So anyway, my headcanon's going to be that basically Moiraine, by being stilled, has just mentally broken herself. And that's why I have to forgive all the tosh stuff she's doing.
All right.
Because she knows, but Varen has kind of made her face it.
Right.
Yeah. Which is good. I like Varen. I just wish she was more Varen-like. But I do like her. I like the actress and I like the lines that she's delivered.
All right. So before we get into well, I guess we can go into Mat.
Mat and Min?
We'll talk about Rand after that.
Okay.
What do you think about their interaction?
Well, Min's in the tower. Mat's in the tower in the Great Hunt. Mat to get cured of the dagger, Min to be studied. So if you have Barney like leave the system and you have to have the abandonment thing, and now you need a trick to get them back together. Yeah, okay, this works. It allowed for a couple of good character moments. It did feel a bit flat though. Like in the end, she's just like, "I'm letting you out." So it looked like he was going to do a cool little escape, and then of course he didn't do a cool escape. But it did allow for some good moments. Like I saw one guy who said to me, the new actor just completely won me over by him like doing the little mime of Leandrin locking the door. Duh. And like just because it's a bit mocking and it's very Mat like to just do that. So I liked that he seemed mocking. I think Mat really has bought into it. I think Mat and Min getting along makes complete sense. That them seeing eye to eye makes complete sense. That them being drinking buddies would make complete sense. I think they've in this scene just seeing the fact that he's not just going to sit in a hole. He's going to try and do something to get himself out. Right. And so I like that. And that he's a bit ingenious and he's never powerless, even when someone has him who he can't possibly fight against. And even though she's like playing the card, they've all forgotten about you. They all hate you. you've abandoned them and they've abandoned you. He doesn't like break down in tears or have some overblown reaction. He doesn't go, I hate them all, or any of that rubbish, which I liked. I like that. That was, you don't know fully what's going on in his head. But I find it a little bit of a shame that they're not using his attachment to the dagger to track the dagger.
Yeah, that was one of my things. It's like Matt and the dagger, and he's not on the quest. It's like that was his main purpose in the second book, was to try to get to Fane
And
and
that's
get
why
that dagger back.
yeah, and it's one of the things that made it make more sense for people like Perrin and Rand to be involved, because they're like, we don't want our mate to die. Yeah, it gave them a personal stake. But
what sucks is that probably was going to be the case.
Yeah, I give them a pass because of the actor being a douche.
Yeah, just left or whatever.
Yeah, maybe he had mental health problems or family problems or whatever. So I understand he has a life, but it's damaged the story.
Right.
Clearly, it's damaged the story.
Unfortunately. One of the things I want to talk about too, Min has a vision.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to say. Like, don't move off until we talk about the vision. Okay, good. You're going to do it.
Yeah. So what do you think of? I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Again, one of the things that worries me is I'm like, do the showrunners well, he's read the books. He's read them. So I don't know if they understand. Like, Min sees weird things, right? But when she understands what they mean, they always happen. Always. She is the most reliable future telling of anything in the series, including foretellings, right? Because foretellings, the words only are what's true. How they're twisted, like Aleda's foretelling, like the words are true, but the way it's interpreted changes. But Min says if she knows what they mean, she's never been wrong. They happen. I hope they realize that. Because what they're saying now is Matt is going to get the dagger and stab Rand with it. That is happening. If that doesn't happen now, they've broken their own law. And so it's going to have to happen. But if they stab Rand with the dagger, they better not just have him then like be faking it and jump up and go, I figured out, by the way, how to heal it with my dragon powers. Or
yeah. Another way to interpret it is it is a person that appears to be Rand.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I'm up for that. You know, someone who's taken a different face. Great. But again, when there's so many freaking things that they could have shown, why should that? Like, you know, how cool would someone like me have found it if it had shown some dice and a red hand on his back? Like, ooh. Or the red Manetheren, the Eagle Manetheren, like the exact thing she sees round him, or the Ashen Deadeye, or something like that. Like the red hand, the dice, anything like that. Like how cool that would have been, and they could totally make like a sound effect of the dice and have them start rattling. And just have that be a thing, and like us all going, what does that mean? That the dice are rolling. And she's like, you know, you're an unpredictable one, like your fate isn't told. And you know, like you're a gambler. And he's like, yeah, so. And she's like, no, you're a gambler. And like, I see you attached to this. That could be so interesting. But instead it's like, nope, we're gonna do she foresees the future. There's a specific scene. It's this scene. Matt, you stab Rand one day. Just so you should know. It's okay. It gives some tension and threat. Oh, Matt's going to betray Rand. But it just, in a generic, other shows do this kind of thing. I'd have loved something that's more purely Min. And I just think they wasted it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I do
where's
agree.
the symbolism? Like the cool thing for me is that Min is all about symbolism, right?
Right.
I love that, and and they've gone for something so much more generic. Same with my problem with Perrin's powers, just so much more generic than like what's really described in the books, which is so much more individualized and therefore marketable and interesting. Because I can't just go and watch an episode of Supernatural and find someone doing that. Yeah.
All right. I think we can talk about Rand's arc through this
Okay. Yep.
episode.
Let's do it.
So we do see Rand on the edge of madness,
Which is great.
while beating someone almost to death.
Yep. And again, it's extreme for Rand, but I still love it. Like
It's also
I don't.
extreme for us. Well, when we saw it, there was no context for this. It was like, yeah, this guy was a complete asshole to the
Yeah.
old man, but this seems a bit overboard.
Yeah. And I think Rand, like you said, is losing his mind.
Right.
So he thinks I'll go and like rough him up, which will mean I can get his job because he can't go into work. And then he starts roughing him up, loses control, and goes way further than he meant to. And like you can see afterwards by Joshua's like response that he is a bit shocked at what he's done.
Right.
So I could they have done it better? Yeah, for sure. But I think there's enough that an astute watcher will go, yeah, he's clearly meant to have accidentally gone too far. I think there's enough in it to say that you as a watcher should get that message. But it was pretty graphic as well, like pretty intense. Like when you see him on the floor, he's yeah. They're not afraid to show stuff.
Yeah, because I was afraid, like, why is Rand doing this in the first place? I didn't know. Of course, when you're first watching this episode and
You don't know that.
there's nothing in the books that will tell you what's happening in this arc that they have in the show. I'm thinking, it's like, man, what the hell's going on with Rand? Like, you wouldn't think of him going up to somebody and beating them up because they slighted him or his friend.
No way.
That's not something he would do.
But don't you think that what they're doing is they're massively accelerating his arc? So we're seeing the Rand insanity from books 3 and 4, which haven't happened yet, but we're seeing.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing it.
Good night. And bye. Yeah, my daughter has to say good night.
Yeah, it does have a purpose.
It does. It does.
Okay.
And like I say, I think they do a few things. They do a few things to sell it to us, like establish that the guy's a prick, and that this and one of the things that the guy specifically mentions is, I get to go outside, you don't. Which is kind of like, what? Of course I do. This is my job. I don't live here. But then you see, it's because he gets to interact with different kinds of people. And so it makes far more sense at the end of the episode, and then in episode 3, why he's done what he's done. And that does put it into context. And I'm okay with it being a surprise and maybe a bit of a jump scare, and then saying, and here's the reveal that makes it make sense. I think that's okay storytelling, which is why I said that even though the Rand arc is so not canon, I have no problem with it, because I feel it's in line with good storytelling, with plot points, and it's reasonably in character with Rand down the line, as opposed to the complete waste of time that is Moiraine and Lan's plotline.
Yeah, and to finish that off, I guess the last thing that happens is Moiraine pushes Lan away.
Or tries to, yeah.
Yeah, or tries to basically, yeah, she tells him that he's going to have to go off on his own.
Yeah, but some of that doesn't happen fully till episode 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hold on a second. All right.
You back?
Well, actually, we're gonna have to wrap it up.
We are done. We're done, man. And nice background, by the way. Is that the Crossroads
No,
Twilight? Your background?
Yeah. We can finish it up next week. But yeah, I gotta go.
But I think we've done episode. I think we've done episode 2. That's everything really that we were going to say, and then we can do episodes 3 and 4 next time.
Right.
I can't think of anything else I would say. So
all right,
it's all good. It's all good, Destiny. Overall views. Just before you go, last line.
Yeah, that was pretty
What's your
good.
overall view of the 2 episodes?
I'm thinking it's a stronger than 1. Yeah, for sure.
Yep, stronger than 1. Some of the niggles with character development, but on the whole, I'm going to watch it, and most of it's watchable. Action sequences are better, and visuals are somewhat better as well. All right. Yeah. Enjoy Wheel of Time, those of you who can ignore some of the more annoying plot alterations. All right. And everybody, have a great day. We'll meet about probably in 2 to 3 weeks. We'll talk about the 3rd and 4th. 3 and 4? Yeah, 3 is really good. All right. Bye. All right. Take it easy.